What do interviewers look, or what do I look when I'm hiring for PMs in my team? Does the candidate bring structured thinking in their approach or not? And a lot of you might think that, hey, I have no PM experience, right? How do I bring out that? A structured thinking is required for any domain you talk about. Are you able to showcase structured thinking in your approach when you are describing that solution?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thanks for joining the session and look forward to doing my bit to drive a bit more clarity towards your product management journey, right? So, a quick background about myself. So, I'm a techie turned PM, right? So, with over 12 plus years of experience across engineering and product roles. So, I graduated out of IT Guwahati in 2012. Post that, I was at EMC Square. I was the software developer for enterprise content management products. Post that, I moved to Myntra, where I spent a significant part of my career, 6 years, across engineering and product roles, and which is where I started my product management journey. I worked across different product teams such as loyalty, recommendations, growth marketing, search and discovery, and so on. I joined Swiggy and I established the growth products team, worked there, and then also moved on to Swiggy Dine Out, the growth and search and discovery team of product team of Dine Out. So yeah, and recently I moved to Quince, where I'm leading the growth products for Quince. What do interviewers look, or what do I look when I'm hiring for PMs in my team? I've done hiring across companies, be it Myntra or Swiggy or even Quince, right? And even I've been doing mock interview sessions, right? So what are the things that I typically look? I think one of the things, main thing is that how does the candidate bring structured thinking in their approach or not, right? And a lot of you might think that, hey, I have no PM experience, right? How do I bring out that, right? I would say that a structured thinking is required for any domain do you talk about, right? Be it analytics, be it tech, or be it even marketing, right? Any kind of team. So whatever problem have you worked on in the past, right, in your career, are you able to showcase structured thinking in your approach when you are describing that solution, right? Typically, what do I try to assess is, based on the candidate's resume, the initiatives or the problem statements that they have called out that they worked on. I try to get deeper into them, right? What did they work? So a lot of times, the feedback that I also give to a lot of early budding PMs is that, are you able to describe the problem in a way that is structured, right? A lot of times we might have done structured work, but when it comes to describing, not everyone has actually done enough practice or enough thinking about how will I present this problem or this initiative which I worked. So that is one really important thing, right? That identify which are those initiatives or problems which you have worked, which you can sell, or in the sense that you can showcase about yourself, because PMs are a somewhat horizontal function, right? You will be working with all these functions, be it analytics, be it growth, be it business, be it engineering, be it data sciences, right? Whatever domain you come from, right? You will always need some knowledge about that domain. And the structured thinking approach, right, is useful for any domain, right? And so PMs have to demonstrate that a lot. So think of this, as an advantage, that now you're able to showcase this work that you have done. So that is one thing. The second, one of the most important thing is attention to detail helps you craft better PRDs, and it also helps you identify and work effectively with other teams, right? Are you establishing all the edge scenarios to your design team, to your engineering team? Are you thinking about all the customer problems, scenarios, the user journey in depth, in detail? So attention to detail is another part, right? These are the two main things when I'm assessing a PM who doesn't have, basically a person who doesn't have a prior PM experience, right? What kind of structured thinking or attention to detail do they bring, right? I think one of the question which someone asked is, product analysis is important in marketing and in, so product analytics is important in every domain, right? And I think in product management, right, the product analytics is important in multiple things. One is identifying improvements. How can you improve your product, right? You will look at a lot of data to understand what are the things that you could improve, right? You will also be using data to assess how the new feature that you have launched is performing, right? Whether it's doing well or not, right? And then, of course, the product metrics or product analysis is also used for tracking progress of different teams, different people, different pods in org, right? You'll be taking your goals as a PM or as a pod, right, on some of these metrics, right? So it's also used for tracking progress, right? So it's really important for a PM to understand product analysis, product metrics, right? So having understanding of product metrics is also one of the things, right? Which is where some of those questions about the RCA questions you would have. I'm not sure if how much you know about the interview process, but one of the questions in a PM interview is this specific XY metric has dropped by X percentage, right? How would you identify what caused this drop, right? And that is one example of product and metrics related questions. Then other could be you are building this feature. What are the metrics that you will track for this feature, right? Or let's say Instagram Reels. What metrics will you track for Instagram Reels, right? So metrics is also one of the aspect on which a person is, evaluated during the interviews. Any questions? Any thoughts? I think I have said a lot, but does that make sense? Does that, are you able to relate to it? I think I'll take how much time did you give on resume? See, I would say that you should spend enough time on your resume. Ensure that you are able to showcase the best of your work, and showcase the skills that will be useful from your current experience to the product management domain which you're trying to transfer to, right? Ensure that your resume, so there is a format called as STAR, star format, right? Situation, task, action, and result, right? Basically, how you are able to showcase what you did, what impact you created, right, across the functions, the work profiles that you have in your resume. Every minute detail matters, right? Typos, how you capitalize or not, right? Capital letters, small letters, everything matters, because when you are reviewing resumes, if you're not able to understand what that person has done, right? If an unknown, a third person who's reading your resume is not able to understand why the work that you did is really good, or what was the importance of that work, right? Then you may not get shortlisted. You might have done $1 million worth of tech improvement, right? But if you're not able to explain it in your resume, and someone who's reading your resume for, let's say, a minute or so, right, then the purpose of resume is defeated, right? So I would say, at least when you're starting out, spend a lot of time, right? You will need to get a lot of feedback from people who can help you out with your resume, right? And on the second, but I think a couple of folks ask, right, attention to detail, right? For example, there are a lot of product sense questions in your interviews, right? For example, which is your favorite product and why, right? And or let's say, how would you improve X product, right? So typically this is to assess that, hey, the products that you're already familiar with it, right? How good are you observing them, right? Are you observing why this CTA is there, or why a company would have launched something or changed something, right? So one advice that I got really early on in my career when I was starting out, right, is, be whatever digital app you are using, right, or even website, right, for that matter, start observing each of them very minutely, right? Why would they have done this? Why would they have for example, I'm not sure if you have noticed recently, but Swiggy, now on the cart, right, checkout page, the delivery prices, restaurant prices, all of those are clubbed and shown as one section now, right? Earlier they used to show different line items, right? So keep observing changes in products and think from a PM's perspective. Why would they have done this? What would help? How would the user get helped? Or what problem are they trying to solve for the user, for the company? and keep a very keen eye on each and everything, right? If a new feature has launched, right, how they have built, how is the onboarding, what are the UI design elements. So that will help you build a sense of design, a sense of good user journey, good product. So these are the ways to check attention to detail. Also, one more way to check attention to detail is when you are describing a solution, for example, in a product sense, are you thinking about the corner scenarios, edge scenarios? Let's say when the user doesn't have any items in cart, or when the user is logged out, etc., right? All of those small scenarios, right? Are you able to think through them? And this only will come through practice, right? And we'll talk about this further in our deck. How much time did you give as an interview? Did you give on your resume? Sparsh, I didn't get your question, but yeah, if you are trying to say that how much time do you spend to reviewing a resume, see, typically less than 2-3 minutes per resume, right? You will get a lot of resumes, and it is practically impossible to spend more time. So what you do is you scan the resume, you check out the bullets, right, and quickly make a decision whether that's good for your profile, or the opening that you have or not. And there are these days there are a lot of tools also where the tools themselves will do a first round of filtering. So yeah, that's also there. Yeah, portfolio part will come to it. I don't think there are different resumes for different domains, but what you can still do is you can personalize your resume based on the company that you're applying for. Let's say, for example, if there is a company where you want to showcase one specific aspect of your career so far, right? Then you can do that, right? For example, if you're a data science and this role will involve you to work more on data science with data sciences team as a PM, then you can have a resume which highlights that specific aspect more. So that is a part where once you have the base resume set, right, then you can start personalizing or customizing that resume for different companies which you're applying. Yeah. So then basically, how a lot of people ask, right, that how do you land a shortlist if you have zero product experience, right? Because it's a chicken and egg problem, right? Because everyone who's hiring wants someone with experience, and everyone who's trying to get into product management won't have an experience, right? So how do you get that? So there are a few ways, right? One is, of course, if you are doing an internal transition within your company itself, you can chat with people in your org, PMs or PM lead product leaders in your org, and figure out, if there are any product intern or junior PM roles that are opening up, where you can double up both engineering. If, let's say, if you're an engineer in that company, right, you can double up for a certain period of time where you do both work, right, engineering and product, and they observe you for some time, and then you fully transition to that role. So that is one way, right? Other way is that you basically create your resume, create a portfolio, right, and apply to companies which are hiring for product interns or junior early PM roles, and showcase yourself that how ready you are for taking up a product role, right? And this readiness will be shown through multiple things. One is through resume, of course, how you're able to highlight that you have the necessary skill sets required for a product role, right? That is one. Second is a product portfolio, right? How have you done any kind of work which will help you showcase that you know the product skill sets, right? For example, a product portfolio could comprise of a PRD for a feature or an initiative that you have written and published, right? Or a case study, right, on what a specific product or a company or a feature. Or it could be any kind of short cases where you show that, hey, this feature has been done like that, right? Deep dives, so sort of, right? Product deep dives. So these are the few things that you can publish on your LinkedIn or other places, right, along with to land a shortlist, right? Because these are the things that get noticed, that hey, this person has actually done some product work, right? And they will definitely be better off than someone who doesn't have a portfolio, right? Let's say if I were a PM who are evaluating two people, right? Someone who has a knowledge of the product skill sets and has done some efforts in building a portfolio, or launching a case or a PRD, right? So there I would be slightly more confident, because I see that they have some showcase some skill sets, right? So that is the way, right, to get a short list. And one more short tip on this is that uh, try to figure out folks who can refer you at these companies where the PMs are being hired, right? Junior PM or a product intern, right? Talk to them about what it is to be a PM in that company, right? What are the skill sets that the company looks for, right? And what are the problems that the company is working on. I understand, not everyone might respond to you, but do give it a try, right? A lot of people, you never know until you try, right? If you reach out to someone with really good intent, right, and not just cold messages, right, but really appreciating the work that they do, the company, the product, and talking about it in specifics, right, then a lot of times people will just reply, right? They will reply, and you can talk to them, figure out what the company does, what kind of skill sets do they expect, right? Then work on a case study which you could attach along with your resume, and ask that person that, hey, do you mind sharing this case study along with my resume for this role that is open in your company, right? So that those kind of touches, right, will help you get a short list, right? Especially in a scenario where the PM openings are not so many, but there are a lot of people who are trying to switch to product roles, right? So you have to figure out how do you stand out. But one caveat which we will also cover after this is that don't do it just for the sake of doing, right? It has to be really high quality and something that really adds value, right? What do I mean by that, right? For example, if you share a case study or a PRD or a feature idea with as part of your resume or your portfolio, right? Ensure that it's really good, right? Because someone who's going to read that, right, is going to assess you, and probably they are more closer to that product, to that problem statement than you are, right? So are you able to give them something that they can meaningfully take away for their product, that yeah, oh, why didn't I think about this, right? This is a valid observation. I could actually improve my product with this idea, with this suggestion. So your PRD should be as actionable or as relatable as possible, right? You don't want to give very generic call outs that I will just improve engagement or I will do XYZ, right? But actually specific ideas which are actionable and which have a clear way to implementation and measurement, etc., right? So your portfolio should be of high quality. That is another call out. When I was at Mintra, right, I started speaking to a lot of product folks back then, the product leaders who were there, right? Sharad Bulusu and Ambarish Kinge, right? And I expressed my intent of getting into a PM role, right? Now, one tip here is that whenever you are trying to reach out to a PM leader, right, about, let's say, a opening or an internship role or a part-time role in your org for a PM role, right? Do your homework, right? Don't go without understanding what a PM being means, right? What is the day-to-day life of a PM is, right? What are the things that you need to know, right? Because if you go to them without being prepared, then you are going to lose out on that one chance that you had to get that transition in your company, right? So I'll tell you my experience. I had actually 2-3 rounds of discussions with these PM leaders. You wouldn't say that these were interviews, but they were trying to gauge why I wanted to become a PM. Did I know about what being a PM meant, right? Or how my life would change when I transition from an engineering role to a product role, right? For example, one really good example or insight is that, when you transition from an engineering role to a PM role, right? As an engineer, you will work on Jira stories or feature clearly defined feature implementation, right? That this has to work this way, right? But as a PM, you will be identifying problems to work on. You are working on unknowns. You will be identifying which problems to work on. Nobody's going to come and tell you that, hey, this is the problem that you have to work on, right? So people who can't deal with uncertainty or unknowns very well, right, might not be good PMs, right? Another thing is that as an engineer, right, as you close your Jira tickets or tasks, right? Every day you will get a sense of completion, achievement, right? That I have done something. But as a PM, right? Your gestation cycle is much longer, right? You will need you continuously work over a period of time. When your product actually gets launched and actually you realize impact, that is when you will feel a sense of achievement, that hey, I have done something to move this metric, or I've done something to improve the customer experience. All of those aspects you need to be aware before you chat with your product leaders for a internal transition. So I chatted with them, I spoke to them about why I wanted to become a PM, what did I understand about being a PM role meant, right? And then I worked on for 3 to 4 months in both the roles, right? So I was in my engineering team, and I did started working on a small feature, right? And that's where I took up. And I had a mentor who was helping me out with the transition as well, right? So I worked with my mentor. I was really lucky to have a good mentor. And please, whenever you're trying, right, be it internally or externally, try to figure out someone who can be a good mentor, right? It could be a college friend, it could be a college senior, company senior, whatever, right? But try to see if you can get at least one mentor, right? And we'll also talk about that in the next few slides, right? So that's how I started working on a feature. Then when I showcased that, hey, I'm able to deliver, then I started getting more and more mandates, and that's how I completely transitioned to a product role. One thing that if you are really keen to transition to a product role, which you'll need to be comfortable with, is that uh, when you start out, you may have to start from the scratch in product management, right? You have not showcased any product management skill sets so far, right? Specifically, right? You might have done here and there, but you need to be comfortable with the fact that you may have to start from the scratch. Of course, if you are able to do well, you may grow very soon in your product journey, but be comfortable with starting from, let's say, a PM1 or so, or a PM2, right? And also comfortable with, let's say, there might be companies where you might not be able to get a CTC, which might be comparable or higher than your current CTC. So but if you are determined, and if you develop the necessary skill sets, and you keep trying, you should be able to transition. So it's not that it's not possible. We spoke about this, right? That your resume should speak for you, right? So draft your resume in the star format, and ensure that you are showcasing all your necessary skill sets in the resume, right? And get it vetted, get it reviewed, right? Because resume is the first thing that you're sharing with anyone, right? So ensure that anyone who's reviewing your resume is able to understand your work, appreciate your work, and find it exciting enough for you to get a call for your interview, right? So that is one. Then comes the portfolio, right? We spoke about this, that you need to build a solid portfolio, right? So I will showcase this example, right? So this is one learner who was there with us at Upraised, right? And for example, you'll see resume, right? For example, if you see the previous experience, right, senior account manager, there you are seeing the bullets in a way which are you are able to understand and are able to relate that, hey, how these skill sets are still relevant in the product management career path, right? So that is one part. And of course, you see the uh, projects or the portfolio here, right? The links to them. So this is the resume. And then these are the portfolio projects, which basically when you join, let's say, Upraised, right? There are so you work with a product mentor, a product leader, or a product manager who's currently already into product management. And over, let's say, I think 8 to 10 weeks, right? You work with that person, product mentor, on a weekly basis, right? To draft the entire PRD, right? From problem discovery to the idea generation, idea shortlisting, prioritization, detailing out the specs of the PRD, defining the solution, defining the success metrics, everything, wireframes, right? So the entire PRD is written and iterated over, right? So you can see the level of detailing, right? Right from all of these aspects, right? Identifying user personas, their problem statements, Then what are the different ways to prioritize these problems. All of these are part of, let's say, this PRD, right? This is one example of a portfolio project, right? Which you can create. And now looking at this, it may sound like a lot of work or a lot of things that you might feel that, hey, it's too much. I don't know, right? But think of this, right? That this person has worked on this for 8 weeks, right? And has gotten that mentorship to uh, write this document in detail, right? And so that is one thing. Yeah. So all of these, and then there are blogs that people publish, right? Or for example, I'll also showcase one of my uh, other. Yeah, so this is an example of one of the person who I mentored, right? So he has written a PRD, right? So I worked with this person to detail out, give him ideas, right? So you start with an objective, right? That, hey, we want to increase the average order value of Swiggy Instamart, right? Then there are discovery of the problems, all of that, right? So this is one way to create a portfolio, right? You can do it on your own, work with a PM product leader from who can help you out with identifying uh, these problem statements that you can work. Now then, once, let's say, you have a portfolio, you have a resume, right? Now comes the interview part, and I saw a few questions around interview as well, right? And it was intentional that I was waiting for this time. So in an interview, typically there are two three types of assessments, right? One is on RCA or product metrics, which we discussed, right? How do you understand what has happened in a scenario where, let's say, X metric has dropped by Y percentage? How are you able to structurally answer those questions, right? Structured thinking is evaluated in these questions, right? And then attention to detail for product sense rounds, right? So you will also need to practice well for the interviews, right? Have you practiced a pitch about yourself, right? A quick elevator pitch. If for folks who are not aware, right? It's a format in which, let's say, if you met that interviewer in a lift, right? In an elevator, right? In the time that it takes for you to be in that elevator, right? Are you able to give a pitch about yourself, right, to that person, right? And in a way that intrigues that person, and that person says after the elevator, right, that, hey, let's chat, right? Let's discuss more. So do you have the elevator pitch? Are you able to describe your work in details, right? So all of this needs to be practiced well. And I'll tell you why it needs to be practiced, right? For example, when you are a PM, right, you need to communicate with all your stakeholders, right? So but whereas if you are an individual contributor in roles like product analytics or engineering, right? So there the communication skills may not be that much relevant, right? But especially for PM roles, right? You are also going to need to showcase that, hey, you are able to work with stakeholders from different kinds of domains, backgrounds. You're able to manage, work with them, right? So if you are not able to describe yourself well in a prepared interview setup, right, where you have prepared about yourself, your work, right, then I, as an interviewer, will not feel confident that, hey, will this person be able to even communicate with his or her stakeholders or not, right? So that's where the interview preparation is required, right, in order to ensure that you are able to showcase the best version of yourself, your work, right? And instill that confidence that, hey, this person has got it to do what it requires to be in a daily PM role, right? So for this also, I'll advise. Uh, there are a lot of PMs who can help you out with mock interviews. There are platforms, for example, like Upraised and other platforms where you get a chance to do mock interviews with experienced PM leaders, etc. Right? So that is one advice, right? Practice a lot, right? A lot of times we may feel that, hey, why do I need to practice? I understand, I know about myself, I can pitch, right? But I have seen in my experience, even at Upraised, right, when I've been mentoring people, right, there are specific feedback which I will just talk about, which common mistakes or common things, right? One is, are you picking about the right examples in your interviews, right? For example, if someone asks you, tell me about an initiative that you're really proud of, right? Or tell me about an initiative where you led across different teams, right? Or give us an example of your biggest failure, right? So these questions are trying to assess your work experience, right? Do you have the best example for these different types of questions, right? If you don't go prepared, right, you might give an example that is actually not that great, right, or doesn't fit into that question itself, right? So prepare for that. For example, another part is, for example, strengths or weaknesses. Are you prepared for that? Or are you giving a pitch, elevator pitch, right, which talks about your work in a way that the interviewer would understand, right? I've seen a lot of people, not just engineers, but even analysts or marketers or other domains, right? They will talk in detail about their work, but I would not understand any of it, right? If you talk about a specific technology term, right, which the interviewer doesn't relate to, or a language which is not generic enough, right, the interviewer will not understand your work at all, right? So you need to simplify it, while at the same time you need to ensure that that work is perceived for its value, right? That, hey, this was really important because this was such a big problem, or due to this we were able to create this impact, right? So ensure that you speak in a language which anyone can relate to and appreciate your work, right? So that's where the mock interviews help, right? So I'll take few more questions. And basically, so we discuss what resume building, portfolio building, and mock interviews, right? So these are the things where Upraised can help. For example, I've been involved with Upraised in bunch of capacities. One is the one-to-one mentorship program, right, where I work with a PM aspirant, right, over 8 or so weeks, right? And every week I connect with them and iterate with them on the PRD, right, which we spoke about. Yeah, right. So you can choose from all the product leaders who have empaneled on Appraise, and you can book mock interview slots with them, right? And one thing that I would say is, be it Appraised or be it whichever platform, right? That this is the really exciting time to learn more about product management, because back then when I started, there was no structured way in which I could learn about product management, right? So uh, uh, keep yourself, to do some action, right? Start putting in efforts, right? Because there is so much that you can do, so much guidance that is available now, so make the most use of it, right? Now I'll just go to the Q&A. Udit, one example is Appraised, right? You not only get to build these actionable things, which is your resume, mock interviews, your core PRD writing, but you are getting to learn all the skill sets required for becoming a product manager, right? So that is one example of paid course, right? Then there are free courses as well, a lot of product management blogs, a lot of product management articles, a lot of good product leaders who really post good about what product management is, right? So you can start following few folks on the LinkedIn, and you'll keep getting more and more such recommendations, and you can learn from them. Got it. Yeah. So I think same, right? I think what we discussed, right? You can start on your upskilling for product management, and start building knowledge of the domain, product management domain, and build a portfolio and then start applying. So I think you have even project management as a skill set is required for a PM, right? Yeah, feature analysis, Tulsi, is one more thing, right? That product tear downs. A lot of people would create videos or decks of product tear downs, right? That hey, I observed that Swiggy has launched group ordering functionality on their app, right? This is my product tear down of that feature, right? And one more tip here is that for the portfolio that you're building, right? Build on products that you are actually aware of, that you're using, right? Or where you can get a lot of insights from, right? Whenever you are building these product teardowns or product case studies, right, you might want to do some user research, user studies as well, right? So try to do for products which you are aware of. Otherwise your understanding of that product will be limited, your knowledge about that user base will be limited. For example, if you build about Netflix, right? Netflix is a much more evolved product. You might not be using, if you are using Netflix, then that's fine. But let's say if you are not using Netflix as much as any other OTT, right? Then that won't be the deep understanding of your about your that product, right? So that is there. Then also try to ensure that you are reading through the blogs and tech articles about these platforms, right? A lot of companies have product blogs, tech blogs, right, which will help you understand what these companies are building, how they are building, what is the psyche behind building each and every feature functionality, right? For example, I remember that product and design teams at Swiggy, right, I had published a new user onboarding blog, right? How we revamped the existing app onboarding on Swiggy, right? So that will tell you that hey, this is the kind of work, or this is what went behind that functionality in that org, in that app, right? So maybe you are coming up with an idea, but maybe they have already explored that idea or built that idea, right? So all of those tech blogs will help you understand more about that product, will help you get more nuance. So that is one more way to learn more about a company whose case study you're trying to build. See, Gursimran, if you are a non-techie, right, there's nothing stopping you from becoming a PM, right? However, it will help if you at least have basics of tech knowledge. You are not expected to write a code, review a code, or write anything technical. But as long as if you are able to connect or chat with your engineering counterparts, right, that should be fine, right? So get a basic understanding of tech. There are books on this as well. For example, there is one, I think, Tech 101 for PMs, a book, right? Which product leader from Flipkart has published, right? You can read that. There are tons of blogs which will help you get the basics of, let's say, REST APIs, databases, etc., right? So there's tons of material, but just start basics, start small, get some understanding of tech, but it doesn't need to be very detailed. The Scrum or PMP kind of certifications are more important for roles in project management and in larger multinational companies, right? It depends on what kind of companies you're trying to target. But if your question is on startups, right? Startups more care about whether you have the necessary skill set or not, whether you have understanding of the role or not, whether you will be able to be successful at that role or not, right? As long as you are able to do that, it should be fine, right? So not necessarily, but there are courses which will help you upskill and help you you know gain that confidence of the interviewer or the person who is reviewing your resume, right? Yeah. Sanya, we spoke a bit about this, but basically pick a product, pick a feature that you'd like to implement in a product to solve a core user problem, right? Write about it. There is one way, either you could do it on your own, or you could, let's say, reach out to few PMs who could mentor you, help you write a PRD, right? So that is another way to build that portfolio. I think, Vaishnav, if you're trying to transition from an MBA to product management, right, the skill sets required are still the same, right? It's just that you at least will have a better understanding of business metrics, etc., right? Since you have an MBA. So yeah, but otherwise, writing a good PRD, attention to detail, first principles thinking, or structured thinking, right? All of those will still be required. I think that is it. I hope this session was helpful and helps you get more understanding about product management, how to get into product roles, interviews, right?